Hey there, everybody. This is Gary, and you're watching Physical Format Rock and Roll. Thank you so much for tuning in, and happy Father's Day weekend to everybody out there who is a father, who's had a father, or who's just ever used the phrase, "Who's your daddy?" So, anyway, since it is Father's Day weekend, how about I do a overlooked gem episode that involves the godfather of metal, Mr. Tony Iommi. So, back in 2005, Tony Iommi got together with one Mr. Glenn Hughes. Glenn Hughes, of course, had previously worked with Tony on the Black Sabbath album Seventh Star. Now, as most of you know, that album was originally going to be a Tony Iommi solo album, but because of pressure from the record company, they put the moniker Black Sabbath on it so it would sell better. That album is a departure in sound somewhat for Black Sabbath, but it's kind of an album that many people really like. It's kind of one of the ones that they talk about that they're very fond of. So those two working together did work very well. Unfortunately, it didn't last because of the drug problems that Glenn Hughes had at that time. Of course, Glenn Hughes was started out in trapeze. He was in an era of Deep Purple with David Coverdale. He's been in Black Country Communion. He's had a successful solo career. He is currently in the Dead Daisies, which this is a really good album. You should check out if you haven't already. But anyway, this is the album that we're talking about. Fused. Iommi Fused. They called it Iommi. It was listed under his name, but as you can see, it says Tony Iommi and Glenn Hughes right there. It was a collaboration. Now, it's kind of interesting to me because this came out in 2005. In 2009, Tony Iommi did The Devil You Know album. Of course, with Dio, it was the Heaven and Hell version of Black Sabbath with Appice and Geezer Butler on it. And then he got back in 2013 and did the final Black Sabbath album of 13. I know a lot of people hate this album. I myself find some interesting music on it. But so you have three different things that he did with the three different singers in a relatively short time span. Later Tony Iommi. And it's very interesting to hear the differences because Tony, of course, does a lot of the similar style riffs. He is the riff master, and that's what this album is. And it's interesting how each singer adds their own touch to it. Of course, Ozzy, more known for just following along with the guitar line, as where Dio added his own melodies over the riffs, as does Glenn Hughes. Of course, Glenn Hughes has a little bit more soul, a little more funk in his voice, and it shows up on this album. This album is a killer record. If you don't already own this, I would look it up. I don't think it's on vinyl. Unfortunately, maybe somebody can let me know. I haven't seen it, but I do have it on CD, and the CD is not that hard to get. That's the track listing, as you can see, and it starts out strong with the song Dopamine. That is just an ass-kicking song, and that's pretty much what this album is. There are a couple of slower moments, but for the most part, it's just a hard rocking album. The guitar sounds low and dirty on this thing, and Glenn Hughes just sings his ass off, pretty much like he always does. and it is just a balls to the wall album pretty much. Like I say, you know, it's very cool that you get that little bit of soul from Glenn Hughes' voice added to Tony Iommi's very heavy riffs. It's just a fantastic combination. I feel like if those of you out there who are not familiar with this but are fans of Tony Iommi or Glenn Hughes and you have not heard this album, you will definitely really like it. Out of these three that I showed, which like I said, I like this. I like this one too. It's you know, it gets a little bogged down at times, but this is my favorite out of these three. So, you know, and I'm a big Black Sabbath fan. So I would recommend it highly. Grace is another good song on here. Deep Inside a Shell, it's really very cool. There's just really all these songs. I Go Insane, a little more of an epic sounding song, but for the most part, the songs are fairly short, just heavy rocking songs, and fantastic. Fantastic album. I highly recommend it. So go check it out. Iommi Fused is what it's called. Tony Iommi, Glenn Hughes. That is an overlooked gem that maybe you missed that you should go back and give it a listen to. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Gary. This is Physical Format Rock and Roll. You can always catch me on Twitter and Facebook too. And until the next time, my friends, I will see you down the road.